It's been 3 years since my facial feminization surgery, and the results have been shocking. Going from a man with a bulky facial deformities to a top model on the OnlyFans has been crazy. I got it way back in like August 2021. Go check out my surgery video if you want to see what the process is like. But in this video, I just want to go into more detail and show you like what the outcome has been for me. Here's some before and after pictures too if you're interested. Don't look too much. I want to go all the way back and like give you the full experience because I feel 100% healed and I feel like my life, like I'm a completely different person at this point. So the reason why I did facial feminization surgery, for those of you that don't know what it is, it's mostly for people that went through male puberty and they had a lot of like facial structures that are associated to the male phenotype thingy. So that means like a bigger jaw, bigger chin, nose, everything else looks like masculine. So the purpose of the surgery is to make you look more feminine. I got it because I felt really ugly and like unable to be like socially present. Like I felt like one of those like people that had to live in the sewers and like they only come out at night. I was like a night walker. And because of all of that, I felt socially outcasted from like ever getting a job, socializing, or like doing anything that involved doing anything with anyone, if that makes sense. It was like the most like handicapped, debilitating, like I can't live like this kind of thing. Even though it seems like it's superficial, like getting like plastic surgery on my face seems like very like cosmetic. For me, it was more about mental health instead of like my appearance. Needing to fit into like a category of like a woman was the most important thing for me so I can live a normal life. And now I feel so freaking happy. I feel like I belong somewhere now. Like I have confidence to like order pizza and not cry about it anymore. For a lot of people, dysphoria might come in different forms, but I think your appearance is probably one of the most important things because that's what everybody sees. For other people, it might be like their genitalia, but I think that's a little bit more rare because there's not that many people that are going to be looking at it. I'm on OnlyFans and I don't care. I just kind of asked my endocrinologist like if I could have a referral to see somebody who could like help with my facial feminization, and then she referred me to somebody and he turned it out to be really cool. And he's worked on not just trans people, but all sorts of people, so his experience is like freaking insane. And the best part about it is I live in California, so it was relatively free for me to do the whole surgery and everything because I was also on the California insurance, Medi-Cal, something like that. So that helped so freaking much. Asking like help from your doctor, be like, yo, can I get a referral for something, was the hardest and also the easiest thing to freaking do. And from there, that literally changed my entire life. So this was during COVID, so everything was being delayed. I finally got my consultation. It was UCLA. So I spoke to the doctor. It went great. The consultation was amazing. They basically look at your face and they're going to be like, this is what we're going to work on in order to make your face more feminine. And because I had a lot of things that I wanted to change about my face, there was also another surgeon that had to come in and like a bunch of other like nurses. Lots of people have dysphoria, but it's like really important to know exactly what's causing that dysphoria. Maybe you don't need like bottom surgery because nobody's gonna be seeing your junk. Maybe your appearance is way more important because that's like what everybody sees. So it's important to know what things are causing discomfort, and that's why you have the consultation, and that's why you have like therapy and talk to professionals beforehand to make sure like you're targeting the right thing. And like a huge invasive surgery like this where your entire face is gonna change, that healing process is gonna take months. So I knew that I had to be like out of work for a long time, so I had a lot of money saved up, and because I do like OnlyFans and YouTube, I just had like a lot of pre-scheduled content so I could be ready to take time off. So the consultation ended up being like in UCLA. It's super annoying because I had to get there really freaking early, and it's because COVID, there's a lot of restrictions and everything. It was delayed. But during the consultation, we reviewed my facial deformities. It's weird to say that. The doctor called them deformities, and then during the surgery, it ended up being longer because there were deformities. But basically, I got a nose job. I got my brow bone reduced. I got my jaw shaped to be like more feminine, my chin to be like shaved. I had a fat injection into my lips so they look more full, and also fat injections into my cheeks because women's faces are usually more round, whereas men's faces are more structural and like straight lines and bold. During the consultation, my surgeon also recommended that I get additional fat grafts into like the temple right here, but that felt like it would be too much fat going into like my face. I kind of wish I did it, but I'm kind of comfortable with how I look like now. I always imagined that getting like fat transferred into certain parts of your body would overdo it. But I think my lips, like no one will ever be able to tell that this is not completely natural. Like we took fat from the stomach and put it into my lips. And then same with my cheeks. So I was kind of worried that if I did that to my temple, I would just kind of have like really deep set eyes, but I think I would have been totally fine. So it's really important to communicate with your doctor and know what you want, and this turned out to be really good. So after the consultation, they take pictures of your face so they can have like a before and after. I never got access to that for some reason. And then after like 3 to 6 months, I think, it felt way longer. We had to wait for like insurance to approve everything, and then we had to wait for COVID delays, and then like everyone else is like that's getting this procedure done is getting delayed. So it's just so much time just waiting, doing nothing. And then like I said, the list of things that I got done was like my brow bone reduction called the frontal orbital reconstruction, which is this. I didn't realize this, but I also got a frontal hairline lowering. You can kind of see this right here, the scar. They also peel your face off. So I have like this scar right here that goes all the way across. So they peel your face off. And in the process of that, I guess they lowered my hairline too, which is great. Also got a rhinoplasty because I had a dorsal hump and now my nose is a lot smoother. Jaw reduction, like I said, it's called like a bilateral angle of mandible shave. There's only so much bone that they can take off your face because I think underneath their bone, you get like the spongy stuff. So like you got to make sure like you still get the hard part and the soft part together intact. Fat injection to my lips and cheeks. For my Adam's apple, I did get it reduced. You can kind of see it a little bit, but I didn't get it completely removed. The doctor convinced me that it's safer and it looks feminine if you do have a little bit of an Adam's apple. And I'm like, okay, we're getting like a trachea shave or Adam's apple shave can be really dangerous. Those of you that know Daisy Taylor, I think her voice was altered because she did a trachea shave and then they cut a little too much. So now she sounds the way that she does, which is beautiful and gorgeous and everything about her is amazing. But now she's limited on her vocal range and all of that because the trachea shave was way too close to the vocal folds. And luckily for me, since I got the trachea shave with everything else going on at the same time, I don't have a scar underneath my chin because they did it through the inside of my mouth. And I don't know what the tool that they use, but it's like from the inside of my lip and they're able to shave it down. So on the day of the surgery, I went 24 hours with no food and no water. And it was stupid because they said like, yeah, you can have water. But for some reason, I didn't drink any water because I thought they said I wasn't allowed to. So they kind of made fun of me when I got there. We go to the hospital super early. It feels like it's closed. It feels like abandoned and closed, but there's a couple of lights going on. And it's like, you just have to wait a lot and like do the check-in process. You don't really do anything besides just waiting for like hours, and so agonizing because you're just hours away from the procedure you've been waiting to do your entire life. But luckily I had my sisters there, and then like they tell you to like undress, put the gown on, and then I was able to talk to my sisters the entire time. So it wasn't that crazy, but it was kind of like, I'm ready now. And then while you're like in the gurney or the bed thing, all the doctors introduce themselves to you, and there's like so many of them because this procedure is crazy. I think it takes like 6 to 7 hours to get this procedure done, so there's a lot of people involved. And one of the nurses there called me stupid because I didn't drink any water, so like my arms looked really veiny and gross, and she like massaged me and tried to help me out and everything. And they were wondering why I wasn't that nervous or that scared. And to be honest, it's because it's like I've been waiting for this forever. I'm sure it'll go totally fine, right? Like what's the worst that can happen? Don't answer that question. So after like 6 hours of waiting, like for like because we had to get there really early and the doctors had to prepare and everything, it took like 6 freaking hours. They drag you to the surgery place, like where they're gonna operate on you, and that's like really crazy because it's like as soon as they're going, and I felt like they're just rushing with me like on the bed, and I'm just like, where am I going? It was just like the most crazy experience thing ever. It's like one of the last memories that I had before they knocked me out. And then so while I was on the operating table and they were gonna like put the thingy to make me go to sleep, they were asking me like, oh, do you like the music? And it was like we didn't start the fire, and then they knocked me out immediately. And I didn't realize it at the moment. They're just trying to be like,
yo, watch this, I'm gonna knock out this person mid-sentence
or something. But I stayed alive. I stayed awake for as long as I could, and then I knocked out. And as soon as you wake up, it feels like instant. I knew exactly what had happened and everything, but it's like you close your eyes, you blink, and then you wake up, and now you're like in a totally different environment. The time has changed. You can't move. You're just kind of like, and you're also probably really high on drugs or medicine, painkillers and stuff. During the surgery, I saw the notes after. So there's a couple of different surgeons, but the main one was the one like taking the notes. On his notes, he wrote, due to patient's diagnosis and severity of deformity, the case was significantly more complex, time-consuming, technically demanding, and required more mental effort compared to a standard frontal orbital reconstruction. We spent 30 minutes additional time for this procedure. This procedure took 7 hours. The procedure should have taken 6.5 hours. We required the additional time because the deformity was way more complex, which took additional time to complete. So I just read that as like, I was really ugly, and they underestimated how ugly I was. So right after the surgery, you kind of like wake up, you're like in a daze, but for me personally, I knew exactly what had happened, but like I couldn't move or anything. I just remember waking up and then they're rushing you through the halls, and there's like a lot of commotion. The lights are really dim, and there's like a lot of people, to me it felt like they were like yelling at each other, like trying to get stuff done. And then they put me into like a large room with like a lot of other patients, but then they had like curtains and everything, so I could hear everything that was going on, but I was just kind of like, ugh, like zombified. And as soon as they put me like in the heart monitor and had everything like settled, they offered me water, and I was so desperate to drink the water because I thought I was dehydrated after not drinking water for the entire procedure and then the entire day before. So I chugged that water, and I didn't know what I looked like or anything, but I ended up vomiting all that water that I drank. I didn't have to worry about it because I had an IV, but I didn't realize that. But I just chugged it, vomited it, and apparently all the vomit was just blood everywhere. I made the biggest mess ever. Because while they're doing the procedure, like if they do like a nose job or like working on your face, I think you end up swallowing a lot of blood. So my body was just like, oh, let me get rid of this. And that freaked out the nurses like crazy. That was the most terrifying thing they've probably ever seen at that moment. Just like, oh, I'm dying. And then for that day, they made me stay at the hospital for a day just to make sure I was good. But I felt so, I guess it was like the medication that made me so like, I didn't want to look at my phone or anything. I just kind of like dripped it off and like stared at his face and like didn't really think or do anything. But I was like sentient and conscious. And then like throughout the night, you could hear like other patients like, well, I don't want to say moaning. What's the word? Groaning. They're like making noises and stuff, and like nurses trying to help them and whatever. And then when it was my turn, the nurse would say hi, and I couldn't really talk to her because everything was covered in stitches and band-aids. I was swollen, and then like everything was just crazy. So she was like, how are you? And I'm like, oh. And then finally the next day, they're like, oh, we're gonna see if you can walk or whatever. So I tried getting up from the bed. Whenever you do like any sort of action, I feel like your face muscles are also involved. Like if you like move your arm, you might notice like a little bit of your like facial stuff like moving along with it. So like getting up is like really hard because you don't want to move any of your facial muscles. So you're just like they're really paranoid, and then the like, doctor is also making sure like everything is like still together, that your face doesn't peel off. Because like your face actually, when they're doing the procedure, they peel it off. Like I said, the scar goes from all the way from my forehead here, you can kind of see it, all the way down to like the back of my ear. So they do all of that, and they can like peel your face off. And for like the inside, like for your jaw and your chin, I guess they do it to the inside of your mouth, because I also had stitches down there going on. And that makes it really hard to eat too. Oh, and they also give you food, but you can't eat any of it because everywhere on your face is covered in stitches. And you can't control your muscles either because it just peeled off your face. So you're just there kind of like putting like applesauce on your tongue and hoping your tongue can like put it to the back of your throat. And it's just like the most awful thing. Same with drinking water, because you have to rely on your lips. You can't move your lips, or you're just kind of like waterfalling it like into your mouth, and it's like really impossible. So the whole time while you're at the hospital, they make you like pee in a thing. So you never look at a mirror to see what you look like. I think my sister took a picture or something, or saw the reflection of myself, and it looked like I got hit by a car. My face was covered in stitches. The band-aids were all covered in blood. My entire face was unbelievably swollen. It looked like I belonged in the hospital and I needed to stay there. But the doctor said after 24 hours, like I can just go rest at home and everything's gonna be fine, and they're gonna check up on me and I have to go back in later. So I'm like walking out the hospital, and I'm walking really carefully because all of this has just been done. It's actually surprisingly painless because of the painkillers probably. But then I can see people staring at me. It was like the most crazy. Like people just look at you and they're like they just witnessed death. Like they just saw somebody die and just kind of like just stare at you and look at the most crazy face. So I tried wearing my hoodie and everything, but like everything just didn't fit because like I don't want to touch my face. The hoodie doesn't fit my head because everything is swollen. I'm not walking correctly. It's just such a, like, I look like a mess. I look like I belong in the hospital. So during week 1 of recovery, I'm bedridden. I imagine everybody's gonna be bedridden because like I said, you move any muscle, I feel like your facial stuff is involved too. So you just want everything to heal up as much as possible. They gave me a prescription for like a painkiller, and I didn't really need it. Like I just took Tylenol and I was fine. I didn't experience pain throughout the whole thing, but there was like this one night where I felt like I had like a headache, and so I took one of the prescribed painkillers, and that was the first time. I don't think I was hallucinating, but I feel like I was hallucinating sound. I feel like somebody was trying to talk to me, and I was like, no, oh no. So I never took another one after that, because that was the most trippy thing, especially like if I'm recovering. I don't want to be tripping with like stitches and everything and like end up doing something really stupid. That being said, I did do something stupid because we're only allowed to eat like mushy foods. So during my week 1, I was tired of mushy foods. I wanted to eat like pancakes and like eggs. Eggs was like super hard. I think it was on the allowed list, but I couldn't do it. I got like food delivered to me, and I was walking to the kitchen with like, because I wanted to get my food, and I had to walk upstairs. My face is covered in all the like band-aids and stitches. And then I fall climbing up the stairs. I was like,
Oh, fuck.
I just ruined everything by falling right now. Everything ended up being fine, and it wasn't that bad. I just kind of like slipped on the staircase, but I was like, but I caught myself on my arm and everything was fine. So during week 1, you will be bedridden. You will look like a mess. You're probably gonna need painkillers. I'm tough. I don't like the prescribed ones, and I didn't really need it. Oh, and when you're sleeping and you're bedridden, you can only be on your back. For me, that causes nightmares, and I just can't sleep when I'm like, oh, my back, that's impossible. I gotta be like on my side or anything. So that like sleeping was horrible. Staying awake was horrible because I can't do anything. For me, it feel like it was just like a flash. Like all at like week 1, which was the worst week, was just like an instance. Like it was just really, really quick, and everything was fine. And also, you can't talk because like everything is just swollen, everything's covered in stitches, so you're just kind of like, because you can't communicate or drink water efficiently, because whenever you drink water or do anything, you're just drooling all over yourself. So you're just stuck in your room, can't do anything in the public, can't even get food, like, because people are gonna be looking at you like, are you okay? You can't really move around or do anything. I can't wear headphones if I'm gaming. And then showering was awful. I think after the first week, you're allowed to shower, but they don't want you to put like products in your hair, because then it's gonna get on the stitches and kind of ruin it. And then your hair is covered in Vaseline from the surgery, and it's all tangled, and it's like the grossest thing. So how are you supposed to shower if you can't get like a lot of water or like product on your thingy? So showering is almost impossible. And stitches are the weirdest thing. You can like feel it if you run your hand on it, obviously, and then like if you like try moving your muscles around, it feels like really, really, really tight. I had stitches from all over my head, inside of my mouth, and then like in my nose too. My nose ones I didn't expect. That one were the most surprising ones. But week 1, you look so messed up, and it's the worst freaking week of it all. It is horrible. But week 2, you go back to the surgeon's office. You probably look a little bit more clean because you clean up all the blood. You're able to shower a little bit. And at this point, they tell you they can, at least they told me that I can take off some of the band-aids, but I still have to leave a couple of them on. Your face is still incredibly swollen, but it's just less bloody. And then week 2, I really wanted to eat normal food, but you still can't. You still have to eat mushy food. Some people end up losing a lot of weight, like during like the first month. I think my weight ended up being the same, and then I think I ended up gaining a little bit more weight because I was like, I'm tired of not eating.
I need to eat.
And then I just end up overeating. So after the 2-week checkup, everything's good. I'm healing. It's a work in progress. So I go back home. 1 month later, I have to go back to the office. But now I'm still swollen. I'm noticeably swollen still. After 1 month, you're still very, 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 very freaking swollen, but not as much as before. But now I can take off my band-aids. All the wraps, the head wraps, now I can get rid of all of them. When you're swollen, it kind of feels like you're numb. However, during the procedure, it is like a complication, but sometimes you can lose sensation on parts of your face. So like this area right here, I lost sensation in this for like half a year. Like I couldn't touch my jaw. I mean, I couldn't feel my jaw if anybody or I touched it. It was the weirdest feeling. It just felt like really numb. And I couldn't move my bottom lip down like this for almost a year. It was just always stuck like this. And then when I would smile, it'd be like really weird. Now when you look at me smile, sometimes it's still, you can still see part of like the healing. Like it still feels like it's really tight, whereas before it felt really loose to have like this bottom part of my mouth. Because I think when it heals, it's tighter versus what you've had your entire life because it gets more elastic. And the same with the top of my head, because they peel your face off to get to your skull. The top of my skull right here was numb for like a year or 2. I just couldn't feel anything for like a really, really, really long time. So my sisters would make fun of me maybe being like, do you feel this? And I'm like, no. But it finally came back. The doctor said there was a chance, a really good chance that it wouldn't come back. Oh, I got so lucky and I got feeling back. I am so grateful for that. But it's also like a superpower because like if I'm underneath my desk and I hit my head, it wouldn't hurt that bad. You'd feel the pain like in your neck instead of like your head. It's a superpower. So 1 month later, we go back to the office. We can remove the band-aids. I think some of the stitches get removed. I know a couple of them like would just dissolve away. Like I had a couple of nose ones that would just slowly go away. But that took a little too long, so I manually did it because it looked like it was healed. So like I would like pluck the stitch out, which you should never freaking do. But I needed to because everything was healed, but the stitches were just in my skin and they weren't going away. It was like a splinter. Speaking of splinters or a splint, since I got a nose job, I didn't even know, but they put splints on the inside of my nose. They're like giant popsicle sticks all the way into my nose, and I had no idea. So the doctor was like, oh, it's time to get them out because like the nose is pretty much healed at this point. You don't need the splints. And I didn't even know they were in my nose. I was just breathing like normally. And the guy puts his fingers into my nose and he started trying to get it out, but he can't. So he like puts his leg on the chair and he's like, he's trying so hard to freaking just pull it out of my nose. That was probably the most pain I've ever felt in my entire life. These giant like bloody sticks come out of my nose, and it took so long and so hard, and the doctor was like holding my head and everything. It was like, that was painful, and I had no idea they were in there. Everything else has been great though. And now at this point, I can shower normal. I don't like being out in public because you're still covered in stitches and you're swollen and it's like really red and I don't want to say irritated, but it is red. And during that process, like you can't really brush your hair. If you have stitches all over your face and you try brushing your hair, it's gonna make your face like rip apart. So now it's more comfortable to like brush your hair. Honestly, I think after 4 weeks or 1 month, I was able to go back to work. My face was still swollen. I couldn't move the bottom of my lip, but I think I could go back to work after 4 weeks. It's only like the first 2 weeks that are the most challenging, but by week 4, people can go back to work and you'll be fine. But obviously, you don't want to do anything crazy. But 6 months later, you're doing great. I was doing great. Most of it was healed. I was able to live a normal life. I had a couple of things that were numb that I didn't like have control over, but everything else was great. But the weirdest part is looking in the mirror and like seeing a different face. It is the most crazy thing. I don't think most people can experience that. Cause like you're used to seeing one thing, but when you look at the mirror, you just see another face. But you know it's your face, but it's like a better version of it. So you're just looking at it like, oh my God. Also, like when you do makeup, it's slightly different. Because if you do like contour like stuff, normally that's like with your facial structure, but now your facial structure is different and swollen. So like your makeup stuff is different. So it's just like really weird. Even now, sometimes like in the middle of the night, I'll look at the mirror and it's like, who is that person? In my head, I think it's probably the dysphoria. I still see my old face in my head. But when I look in the mirror, I'm like, what? Who is this? So ever since the surgery, 1 year later to like current, I've never gotten clocked in public. And clocked is like when people can tell that you're trans and they like call you out on it. But I've never experienced that in my entire life, and I'm so blessed. Like this surgery has been amazing. I think pre-surgery, I looked pretty goofy, like you could tell that I was trans. But now I think I'm way super comfortable. I always had that feeling in the back of my head that people know that I'm trans, but I've never been confronted. No one has ever called me out on it. The worst part about getting your face changed, no one ever talks about the worst parts about it, but it's like your face doesn't match your ID anymore. So if you try to like buy alcohol or do anything like that, you're not gonna match your old face and they're gonna call the cops on you. And that sucks. That's horrible. I wish this type of surgery was more available to more people, and it should 100% be covered by all insurances, because people need to pass for their safety. Your appearance affects so much of like what you can do in your life. Normies are like, oh, I don't like trans people, they look weird. It's like, all right, let's help them look normal. Once they're normal, they can live a normal life. You know what I mean? And the changes in the facial feminization surgery, even though I made it seem like it's like a really big deal, because it is a big deal. It's absolutely a big deal. They can only make so many changes to your face, if that makes sense, because they can't cut off that much of bone or like tissue or whatever. They can't cut off that much. They just kind of take what's already there and just make it like rounder and softer. Because I think the expectation for a lot of people is that it's going to be like before and after, like black and white, like two completely different things. But in reality, it's the same thing, just softer and a little bit more rounder. But ever since I've gotten to surgery, like my life has gotten 100 times better, and I feel way more confident to do the things that I should be doing, living life, and you know, like socializing and doing a bunch of other stuff. And before this, I felt like a disability. Like you don't realize how bad it is until things get better. I am absolutely so freaking happy with this, and I'm gonna be happy with this for my entire life. The changes are small, but like to me, they're really big. And then because people recognize human faces really well, like you can look at somebody's face, you can tell when they're like mad or like slightly like a little bit, like you can read people's emotions. So these small changes make a huge difference, and it's so good. Honestly, best experience I've ever had in my entire life, and I'm so glad I did it. I hope if anybody's on the fence of doing it, I would be like, figure out what's causing you dysphoria and target that. But yeah, who could have predicted that my life would have been 100 times better with getting like a facial surgery? That helps out. I also think it's weird calling it plastic surgery because like they didn't really put anything into my face. They just removed stuff and then put some like fat into like certain places, you know? Technically it is plastic surgery, but I don't think it counts. But yeah, make sure you know what you want. Take care of yourself. If you don't know like what to do, reach out to somebody who knows, who can help you explore those feelings and target, precision airstrike it and see what's going on to make you feel better. Because you shouldn't have to live life if you're like sad or depressed, because that doesn't make any sense. There should be ways to like help you, and I want to help you. This should be that's a whole different rant. All right, thank you for watching. If you have any questions or any concerns or you want to know anything in particular, you can put it into the comment section, and I think it would be really cool to like talk to you guys and see what's going on. If anybody's interested in getting this or any concerns that they might have, I lived it. I went through it. I can give you some advice, and I think it'd be really cool to share experiences with each other. All right, peace out. Bye.